Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So whilst Microsoft and Sony were having their annual PP measuring contest with the release date and pricing of the new consoles, Nvidia came out and uppercutted anyone who recently brought a 2080 Ti graphics card with the new 3000 series. I mean, as someone who doesn't even play on PC, this thing is really enticing. Now, full disclosure before we begin, I have been looking into building a PC for a couple years now, but I wanted to wait for the new consoles to see what they had in store. And whilst I am very impressed with the Series X and PS5 specs, I'm about 50-50 on building a PC with a new 3080 GPU and giving up on the console experience, but I'm just not too sure yet. For me, there's still a ton of reasons why I want to stick with the Series X. But ever since the new 3000 series was revealed, the PC fanboys have been going rampant, talking tons of smack, and it's pretty funny, to be honest. I keep hearing the same thing. Oh, you know, I was thinking about buying the Series X, but now with this new 3000 series, there's just no reason to buy a console. There's no reason to buy a console. Now look, yeah, if you want the best overall gaming experience, the PC is definitely the best choice.
But to sit there and suggest that there's no reason. Dude, the level of ego behind that statement. What are you, levitating above the rest of us?
So in today's video, I'm going to just go over, in my opinion, the pros and cons to the next gen consoles versus PC gaming, as I think a lot of gamers are kind of in the same boat as me where they want to upgrade but don't fully know if it's worth it for them. Anyway, let's begin. So first things first, I just want to say, if there's no reason to buy a Series X, then there's no reason to buy the PS5 either, kind of, because a lot of PlayStation exclusives are going to PC, and we know that they're going to keep doing this. We don't know if it's going to be all PlayStation exclusives. We don't know if it's going to be day one, 3 months, 6 months, a year. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of games are going to go to PC. So if you are someone who doesn't want to buy a PlayStation and an Xbox, and that's usually what you do, but you don't have a PC, which is kind of weird because that's a very small demographic of people. But anyway, if that's one of the reasons, kind of like me, then maybe it is time to go for a PC. Now, one reason to stick with consoles is the ease of use. They're plug and play. Very, very simplistic. You put the disc in or click the game and you play. There's no drivers to install every time there's a new download. There's no faffing about. There's no 20 different places to go to play your games. It's just the one place. Very simplistic, and if you're a casual gamer, it seems like this would be the best choice for you. And look, I know that some PC players are going to say this is kind of dumb because, you know, once you do it a couple times, once you build your PC and once you install the drivers and all this stuff, you kind of get used to it. It's not as big a deal when you just learn with it. And yeah, that's true, but in general, I think most people don't really care about that kind of stuff. They just want to, again, play their games. One thing I hear a lot of PC gamers say is that games are cheaper. Well, if you're a digital only player, yes, 100% that's true. However, if you're still a physical user, like me, I know, boomer, and you do the old trade your games in, then definitely not. Dude, I bought Ghost of Tsushima. I traded in 2 games. I didn't need to pay anything extra. I just traded it in. Simple. Today, I traded in my PS4 console and a few games, and I got a mouse and keyboard, and I didn't pay $200 for them. I got it super, super cheap because I managed to trade them in. If you are a PC player, unless you're selling your parts, you can't sell your games to buy things like a controller, to buy a gaming mouse or keyboard or another game. You can't do that because they're all digital. But again, if you are a digital player, that's fine. PC is definitely the choice for you. The biggest reason to stick to consoles is obviously the price. They are cheaper. Oh, but on PC you can do this and even this, and you can edit on it, and you can do customizable streaming, and you can hook up 2 monitors so you can play RuneScape on your right screen and watch Lana Rhodes getting pummeled on your left screen. I get it, I do, and that's great. But that's really besides the point. We're not talking about all the other side crap that you can do. You know, that side crap that you can do on an average laptop. I can do editing on my laptop. I can do schoolwork. I can write emails. I can watch Lana Rhodes on my laptop. That's what we can all do. And to some extent, even on your phone. We're talking about gaming. When people are comparing consoles to PC, they're comparing it in terms of gaming. If you're somebody who wants that overall experience, then you've probably already got a desktop, a full PC. But when you're talking about just gaming, that stuff doesn't matter. So when it comes to the purely gaming experience, the new consoles are still the better choice if, relax, I know, if you're on a budget. I mean, a console is what, $500 to $600? And that's not even counting the controller you get, which is like an extra 60. To build a PC as powerful as the Series X or the PS5, you'll be spending double or even close to 3 times as much. I know there are some people saying, well, I can build it for like $900. Yeah, You can probably do that and have something as strong as the Series X or PS5, but that thing's going to crash and burn in 3 seconds, and you know it is. You need decent components, you need decent parts. I was up with my friend for like 3 hours trying to build a PC, and it went quite the distance. And even if buying a PC as strong as a Series X and PS5 isn't, 10 times as expensive, if you're someone who is switching from the console gaming to PC gaming, you're not going to want to build the Series X or PS5. No, you're going to grab yourself one of those snazzy 3080 graphics cards like I was. The PC I've got planned is going to cost like 1.8k, which is nearly 4 times the price of the Series X and the PS5, and I just don't think it'll give me 3 to 4 times the experience. Will the games look very pretty? Sure, but they'll still look pretty on the new consoles, they'll just look a bit better on the PC. So one issue I have with PCs, and this is not PCs in general, but kind of the community around PCs, that's kind of stopping me from fully wanting to get a PC, is I don't really trust a lot of the reviews online because they've never got anything negative to say. And I know that sounds kind of weird to say because maybe that's just because there are no negatives. PC gaming is a great experience, which I'm sure it is, but maybe it has no downsides. Or maybe, just maybe, it's because they've just spent a ton of money on their rigs, so can't admit that consoles can do anything better than a PC, or that the jump wasn't as big a leap as they may have thought. Maybe it's that. I think it could be a mix of both. Now, I know some people are saying, when I made the switch, I went from 1080p to 4K. I went from 27 frames to 269. And yeah, that was the case with the current consoles and the older ones. But with next-gen consoles, it doesn't seem like the 4K to 8K is going to be a big deal. It doesn't seem like the 60 or 120 frames per second that some games are doing is going to be as big a leap to the 240 frames. Now, I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on, but let's just move on to another reason why you could want to buy a PC, and that is modding. Modding is a big reason to own a PC. However, if you like modding, you've either already got a PC or are saving up to buy a PC. I don't think most console gamers even care. So one reason to stick to consoles is depending on what you play. If you're someone who plays only FIFA, NBA, and I don't know, Fortnite, then no, you don't need to upgrade to a PC. The consoles are just fine for that. Fortnite is already like, 120 frames per second on the current consoles. It's probably going to jump to 240, which doesn't even matter, to be honest with you, because most people don't have a 240Hz monitor. But again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. If you're someone who just plays very casually, UFC, Fortnite and on, then I don't think the upgrade really matters to you. Another reason to stick to consoles is that the new consoles are going to have ray tracing. Now, we don't know too much about it. We know they're going to have it. We don't know to what capacity. Like, is every game going to have ray tracing? I don't know. I doubt it. Again, I'm not too sure. If you know, let me know. There's also issues with performance. Ray tracing can cause the games to lag a lot. It can cause FPS drops and all these kind of things. So again, it really depends. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit more about ray tracing, but again, this is something that we have to see in time. I can't predict the future, and I know it's not likely that every game is going to have ray tracing. I get it, but we'll just see how likely it is and to what extent it's going to run games at. Because if a game's going to have ray tracing but run at 30 FPS, that's a deal breaker for me personally, and that's a big reason to switch to the PC. Another reason to stick with consoles, or PC even, is the ecosystem. Oh, that's dumb. That's so dumb. How can that even be a thing? Why would you say that? And I actually love this point because the same people that are, going to insult me for saying ecosystem is a reason to stick to consoles are the same people that got mad when Epic Games launched their Epic Games launcher and you couldn't play all your games on Steam. They're the same people that will buy an iPhone and then iPods and then a Mac, and they'll buy all these iPhone products, and they all know that the Samsung or whatever else, Android is better, but yet they'll buy it because of the same ecosystem. I love the Xbox dashboard. I think they've done a phenomenal job. It is so quick, it is so easy, so fluid. Everything's around. There's social tabs and things like that. I can see what my friends are up to, inviting friends to a party and all these other stuff is so simplistic, so easy, and I'm also kind of used to it. So, changing ecosystems isn't the easiest thing. If you go from iPhone to Android, it's very, very annoying and cumbersome. Another thing that ecosystems offer are features. Features like, for example, record the last 30 seconds or take a screenshot. Or one thing that I absolutely loved and I never knew I needed, but I absolutely do need this, is quick resume, which is I play a game and if I'm tired or something, instead of going to the game, saving it and closing everything off, I just pause the game, turn off my Xbox. The next day I come on, I turn it on, I go to the game, and it's literally where I left off. I don't need to load it again. I don't need to do any of that stuff. it's where I left off. And the Series X has a feature where you can actually do that with 5 games. So if I'm playing like The Witcher 3, I can pause it, switch over to Cyberpunk, and then I can do that back and forth without having to close the game down and start it again. These are the features that I freaking love. PC gaming can do this too. You can have multiple tabs open, but it's not good for your computer. It's not. No one really does that. I know there are some that are going to say, you know, I have 5 games run at the same time. I highly doubt you do. But either way, this is something that I really think is cool, and it kind of does make me want to stay a little bit with the 360. Wait, what? With the Series X. Not only that, but all your games are in one place. On PC, you have Steam, you have the Epic Launcher, you have Origin, Uplay, Microsoft Store, Blizzard Launcher, and so on. On Xbox and PlayStation, it's literally just your library. Go to library, pick the game, done. Fast, fluid, finished. It's ease of play. And if you're someone, and I'm not this someone, but just an example, because this video isn't just about me, I think it's just in general. If you're someone who can only play games a couple hours a day or maybe a couple times a week and you just want to get into your games as fast as possible, these tiny things do help. Help a little, but they help nonetheless. So for me, the biggest reason to switch consoles or switch to PC or vice versa, whatever, is where your friends are. Usually it's always you buy the system where your friends play. Right now, that isn't as big of a deal because crossplay is more prevalent than ever, and probably most games will have crossplay moving forward, if not all of them. And lastly, this is something that we're going to have to see if the future holds to be true. And when I say this, I think a lot of PC gamers are going to quickly pause, dislike, mean comment, and leave. All I ask is you hear me out. That's it. Just hear me out. Because maybe I'm going to make some sense, or maybe not. Here we go. The big leap between next-gen consoles and PC, I think, has closed. There's still a difference. Okay? And it's noticeable. It's going to be noticeable, but it's not as massive. FPS on a new console is going to be 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second, but for the next year or two, you're still going to have some 30 FPS games on consoles. However, most will be making the 60 FPS jump, with competitive games making the 120 FPS jump, which a few have already made. Call of Duty Cold War, 120 FPS. Halo Infinite, 120. Rocket League, 120. Competitive gaming on consoles is finally on the level of a PC. 240, we can do 240. Relax, okay? Relax. You can delete that comment, it's fine. I know you can do 240, but that requires a 240 Hz monitor, which most people don't even have. And if you're suggesting someone new to PC gaming building their first rig also grab themselves a 240 Hz monitor, then you're adding like another $400. The difference between console and PC gaming before was night and day. It was the difference between 1080p and 4K. It was 30 FPS and 120 FPS. Going from old school beginning of Xbox One Gen to PC gaming was like going from 480p to 1080p. Big difference. And whilst there's a difference now, I just don't think it's that 480p to 1080p difference. I think it's more of that 1080p to 4K or 4K to 8K difference, where it's like, yes, there is a difference, we notice it, but it's just not as meaningful as it was before. It's not as impactful. Now, this could change, and this all depends on developers, honestly, because there is good optimization and bad optimization for both PC and consoles. An example of bad optimization for consoles is Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 30 FPS on the Series X and PS5. And you know how I know it's bad optimization? Because Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be 4K 30 FPS on the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. So it should be able to do 60 FPS on the next-gen consoles. And bad optimization for the PC is something like Sea of Thieves. Don't get me wrong, Sea of Thieves is gorgeous on PC. But even though it's more frames per second, in terms of graphic fidelity, it looks pretty much the exact same. So does something like Red Dead Redemption 2. The lighting is better, particles better, but the game's fidelity, the actual graphics themselves, the textures and things like that, they're not on that big difference level. They're not on that, I'm gonna pay to get a 3080 or 3090 graphics card, literally wasting months rent, better. I don't think they're there. Now, if every developer was like CD Projekt Red, where they do great PC ports, then this would be a no-brainer, especially for someone like myself. Because if I look at Cyberpunk using the new Nvidia cards, bro, dude, That almost, I can't watch it anymore because that literally sways my opinion from 50% to like 90. That makes me want to go and buy a PC and order these parts now. Right now, I'm waiting for the 17th, I think it is, to see when the 3080 comes out. And if I want to upgrade, and even then I may wait a little bit longer, wait for the Series X, see some differences between PC and consoles, and then make the switch. Because if me personally, if I notice it, then I will do it. But if it's not as big a difference, then I won't. If I can get most of my games on 60 FPS with all my competitive games being at least 120, then when it comes to competitive and performance, I don't care. Really, if you're a PC gamer, you already have a PC, then it's a no-brainer. You're going to go grab the next graphics card because you don't need to build a PC from scratch. But if you're building it from scratch, you may want to rethink it a little bit unless you have the money to spend. So anyway, to sum it up, I think anyone with half a chromosome in their head will know it's all about really two things: price and preference. It depends on what you play and how often you play and how much you want to chill out. If you're a hardcore gamer, you'll notice the subtleties, all the other details. If you're a competitive gamer wanting to make it pro, a PC is damn near a must. If you're a content creator or a streamer, if you love modding, PC is going to help you out a ton. However, if you're just someone who just wants to play games, no driver updates, very good price for performance, wants to plug and play, doesn't care about 4K or 8K at 500 frames per second or seeing all these tiny things, if you're good with 120 FPS in your competitive games, which, let's be honest, is still pretty freaking good, if you're happy with how great games already look now, if you're okay with some titles for now, hopefully won't be in 30 FPS or 60 FPS, which honestly, again, only time will tell if 30 FPS on consoles will be a thing of the past, then the new consoles are going to do you just fine. No, they're not on the level of a 3090, not even close, but they're still pretty powerful. Thanks for watching. Peace.